What was it like first day?
It was good. I thought there was some good pace. It's like every coach will say, there's some sloppy moments, but for me, you're gonna, some sloppy moments. But what I like when guys stick with it, and I thought they did. You're gonna go through certain things, and we threw some new drills. They don't know my drills, so you have to take that in effect. So overall, I was really pleased with the guys.
How special of a moment was for you personally to put back on the Flyers colors and gear and everything officially now?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is a special place for me, and the crest is big. So and even the new guys that I brought in, like they haven't been around, but you can tell that they know what it's to be a Flyer. And we were just talking about today. We had a meeting yesterday. So when like the new guys know how special it is, it hits home.
We talked to Sean Couturier about 10, 15 minutes ago, and he mentioned that you're hit the ground running. We're already talking about systems. He noted how that's obviously different from the way it was under Torts, where it was the rope skate. But why is it important to you to hit the ground running, to be talking systems so early in camp?
Well, I just I don't think as a coach early on, like I expect them to work hard. I don't have to get it out of them in the sense, I need to get these guys in concepts, what we want to do. We need to hold on to pucks. We don't want to throw pucks. We want to be a better possession team, so we got to work on that stuff. Obviously, they were a good team last year off the rush, but, can we hold on to pucks? And then there's some offensive concepts. You can't throw a playbook at them right now, but there's certain things that you want to see, which you start to see. So I think there's not a lot of time. So you want to make sure that you guys know their system opening night. It's going to take some time. They're going to have to get used to some of the stuff that we're going to do. But you always they should be working hard. I shouldn't have to demand it out of them. And if there's times when I have to, I will. But right now, for me, concepts and systems and details, we call it staples, like the details of handling a puck off the wall, or in a certain situation that comes. So that's what we'll continue to work on.
From a structural standpoint, like when you get all these details, when you get all of your things in, how will this team look different from a year ago, 2 years ago?
Well, I was out west, so it's hard for me to really give you a pinpoint of how they played. We only play them twice a year or stuff like that. But the way I want to play is it's the Flyers, uncomfortable team to play against. They can play any way you want them to play. There's some games you're going to have to win 2-1. Some games you have to win 6-5. The one thing that for me that I'll never change is play without the puck. We want the goalie to play half the net. We want to make sure that players know where we want. If we got to give something up, where the puck's going to be, and that's really important to me. You get a goalie playing post to post. There's a lot of slot shots. There's backdoor plays. You're gambling, right? I don't want to gamble. I want to be calculated on the way we play. But obviously, we got some creative guys. When we have the puck, like say, go have a party, man. Do what you got to do. But when you don't have the puck, I expect guys to know what they're doing. And I think that's a big thing for me going into this year.
Coach Crystal Rich, nice to meet you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
If I can take you back to that 84-85 run that you had with this team, what do you remember about the grit that it took to get there that you want to instill in this team in your first year back?
Well, I always say, I think I played 18 years. My first 8 years, especially here, probably the closest team, and I won a cup in Pittsburgh. That was a close team, but I think the special part of that team, how close we were, there wasn't a, obviously we know, Tim Kerr was a big goal scorer and all these guys, but it really didn't matter like who got the limelight. It's just, I've never seen a selfless team. So that's what, and I've I think Torch did a great job instilling that here. It's a tight group. I've talked to some guys. They're all, there's no cliques, right? So that part I love. So everybody's selfless, right? Doesn't matter who gets the limelight, and I think that's really you play for the crest. So that's what we did back in the day, and that's what I want to instill now.
I know the coach-captain relationship's a pretty important one. Do you feel like you and Sean will have a natural respect for each other? You're a Flyers Hall of Famer. Sean's a longtime Flyers, played through injury. Do you feel like that will be there?
Yeah, of course. Captain's hard because when you're a captain, sometimes you're always trying to. Coaches always say, "Hey, you got to worry about the team and worry about this player and make sure this happens." And then what happens affects your game. So I want him to worry about his game. The leadership, it'll come. I'll help him out on that. I want him to worry about his game. So we'll talk about that sort of stuff. And he's already done it. There's been a couple of times he's come up to me, asked me about, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? And that's a relationship I want to have. But I want him to worry about his game. He doesn't have to. Sometimes you put so much pressure on the captain that he's got to worry about everything. Next thing you know, his game suffers from it.
I know that dissecting line combinations on the first day of camp is probably
Yeah.
a waste of time. But you've got some young guys like Bump and Grabenkin. It looked like you put them in positions with some veteran guys today. I mean, is that important? That do you need to see? Are you just trying to see whether they click? Is that a message to those guys saying like, here, I'm gonna play with a veteran. Go out and prove it to me that you're an NHL player.
Yeah, to be honest with you guys, I really rely on Danny and Jonesy, right? So it's like I said, I don't know a ton about the guys. I don't know much about Bumper or Grabenkin a little bit. And trust me, our video. Our assistant coach has been watching a lot of video this summer, but it's got to be a in person type of thing. So I rely on those guys. So I think it's important to give a Bump some guys that see what he can do with. So yeah, there is some method to the madness, but a lot of it I rely on. Whether it's the development guys, Johnny Leclerc or Sharpie, I've asked them. I've asked a lot of people their opinions, but then obviously my eye test as things go on. So it's kind of a collective thing right now.
What is your general process with creating lines? Are you someone who likes to balance it out?
Yeah.
Do you like to have, obviously there's a lot of talk about, like, let's say for Trevor Zegras, he didn't, he needs to work on his defensive game. Do you then put him with someone who's maybe a little bit more defensive it's a little bit more responsible defensively, or like what's kind of your general overall thought process?
Well, when I get guilty of it, I think sometimes us coaches, we pull the plug sometimes too early. I know everyone wants chemistry. I do like I think Scotty Bowman was a genius behind the bench. He was the pair guy. Have pairs, and you can always rotate a guy in and out as the third guy. I do like that process sometimes. If you can find three guys, I think Noah, Forrester, and Brink were aligned last year. Pretty good line, I heard. And I've watched some videos. So there's chemistry. So you're looking for that type of chemistry. But I do like having two guys that work well together, and you can always put a third guy in, one night or 2 nights, 3 nights, and then put another guy. We did it actually in Pittsburgh a little bit, and it creates energy. Now, as a coach, you got to be careful that you're not doing it too much, and you're pulling the plug all the time. But I'll see how that goes on. But yeah, I do like obviously having chemistry together with 3 lines or 3 players together.
As you're kind of learning about guys, Cam York was a guy who had a little bit of a rough year. Danny was here the other day. He said the 30-point guy he was 2 years ago is probably closer to what we think he could be from an offensive standpoint. How do you sort of get him back on that track where he can be more of an offensive guy?
Well, I saw it today. We had a defensive drill where you got to get up in the play. Next thing I know, he got the puck as the 4th guy, and I'm like, ooh, it looked good, right? So that's how I wanted to play. I wanted him to play mind-free. I brought in Ty Reardon, and because for a reason, he's had a really good pedigree with teaching D, offensively and defensively. So I think he can really help Yorkie. But like I said, I want him to take some leadership role, and he wants to take his game to another level. I think we can help him. But it starts in practice, and I saw it today. Like I saw him getting up in the play, making plays. That's what I want him to do. Obviously, he's got to defend. Don't get me wrong, but I saw some really stuff off the rush that I really liked.
When you're talking about 5-on-5 play,
Yeah.
Without the puck, how important as you're putting lines together are your centermen kind of as glue guys on that unit?
Well, listen, centermen are huge. They're the heartbeat of your team. They're the smartest. Most times they're the smartest guys, right? So, we have a lot of capable guys. Devo. I had Devo in Arizona, smart guy, good 2-way guy. Really impressed with Cates. I've heard a lot of good things about him, and I watched him today. I'm like, ooh, this guy. I know it's first day, and I know sometimes we all overblow the first day, but I thought he was really. He just looks smart. He knows where the puck, and I'm watching him in even his D zone coverages. He knows what he's doing. And like if Trevor plays center, the speed through the neutral zone, things like that. Obviously Coots is, he won a Selke year. I mean, the guy, his pedigree. So, yeah, we got some centermen that can play without the puck, and that's a good thing. And we just got to get guys to drive play.
Both Jonesy and Hilferty said that making the playoffs is not necessarily a measure of success, but rather looking for improvement. Are you totally in accord with that, or do you want to push the speed limit?
Well, I mean, every coach wants to make the playoffs. You know, for me, we got so much work to even think of that. Like you know, wins and losses obviously we get judged by, but there's so much in between. You know, to win hockey games, and whatever the word is, process. We got so much to do here. That's what I worry about every day. It's day to day. I don't worry about, you know, 5 games ahead. Oh, we got to win these games if we're never going to make the playoffs. I mean, if you get in that, you're going to forget the details of the game. So that's what that's what our staff is going to really concentrate on, is day to day. You know, whether we win 10-0 or 5-0 or lose 5-0 or whatever. I think it's important that every day it's teachable. It's a teachable. That's the one thing with and I keep bringing my staff up. They're teachers. Like I'm sure they're grabbing some guys right now, talking about today's practice. You know, hey, you know, do this, do that, and I think that's what the players want. You know, they want to be coached and they want to maximize their talents.
What did you see from Matt Bay Mitchell?
Yeah, you know what, you know, when you're out there, you're watching the whole thing. But I think early on, I was watching him and very competitive. Like we did a 2-on-2 box-out drill, and he's trying to get the net. Like I love that. I mean, and I was told that he loves to be around the net. So, you know, it's a tough drill. You know, you're boxing out and you got to spin off, and he wasn't shy about that. So there's a reason why the kid loves scoring goals. And you know, if you look at the great goal scorers in the league, they score around that net, and I think he knows that because I saw that today.